Hi, I'm Johnny Ed Mathison. Thank you for joining us for this podcast on go-getters and go-givers. And boy, we've got a couple of go-getters here today, and they're really big go-givers. One is Ken Austin, who we're going to talk with, and he's going to share a lot about the ministries to young people, to children, to everybody. And also to Drew Woods, who is the chairman of the board of the great ministry that Ken is doing. And Drew is just such a vital part of that and giving direction in the board that oversees it. So I want to just thank you for joining us for this, and it'll be an opportunity. You're going to learn some things. You're going to see two people that are making a difference. And God is calling us to make a difference. So let me just begin with Ken. Ken, gosh, nobody makes a difference like you do in the ministry that you have. Would you just sort of tell us real briefly about how you got to Montgomery and how you got into that ministry? And let me just tell you, he has about 7 or 8 different facets of this ministry, and we're going to talk about some of them. But you just need to know this man. You came through the Air Force and got here, and so what happened then?
He had direct orders from the United States Air Force to come to Montgomery. Came kicking and screaming. Had no desire to be back in Alabama. But it's amazing how God's providence calls us to be right back in Montgomery, right in the west side of Montgomery, right outside of the base of Maxwell Air Force Base, where we are still today, 43 years later.
And you got a wonderful wife who has supported you 100% in all of this. And I thank you for letting me come out and preach at your church. In fact, it was an amazing thing, Ken. I preached and it didn't close. I'm pretty good at retarding the growth of a church, but Walk of Life, and then Manor House and Mercy House and all the other things. We're going to get into those a little more. Now, Drew, you get paid a lot of money, I'm sure, to serve on this board, but
Yes.
you give so much time and energy, and the board oversees and helps implement and direct the ministries that Ken has. So tell us just a little bit about you. You're a TV person yourself, so this is old hat to you because you run a big TV station.
I do. I do run a Fox affiliate in Montgomery, Alabama, and but as it relates to Ken and the Mercy House, I've served on the board since roughly 2019 and chaired it since 2020. And all we try and do is just support Ken and try and understand how God is leading this ministry and just try and make sure that we are doing everything we can to follow.
And I don't know of any ministry that's touching more people who are hurting in Montgomery, and just you're doing what Jesus did and reaching out to that. Ken, first just tell us a little bit about the church. That's really how it mostly got started, and then how it branched out to some other things.
Well, we felt called to that community. My wife and I, back in 2004, we felt called inside of the Washington Park community and just packed up and went to an empty building. No one there was serving in that building. And Kyle Cersei came with me. We prayed and walked and make sure that we was hearing from God, that he wanted us there. We had no idea today that we would still be there and doing the work that God is doing today through that work. The church has been planted since 2004. The Mercy House has only been planted since 2018. So the Mercy House, the 501c3, is only 6 years old now. And so we've been there for a long time, way before when you preached, Johnny, there was no 501c3. There was no Mercy House. We were just there serving through the little church. I think we played ping pong and had hot dogs
That's
inside
right.
the Mercy House that day.
I remember that a lot.
And,
he's a great ping pong player. don't challenge him.
Wow.
Drew. But yeah, but that's great. And the church is not what you would call a new structure, because I remember part of it fell in, but you know that didn't stop you, and you kept on, and you have worship service there. My good friend Walter Albritton preaches every fourth Sunday.
Last Sunday, yes.
Yeah, so I appreciate you letting him do that, because that's the weak link, I'm sure, for the 4 Sundays. No, Walter's a great
He's a
preacher,
giant,
and he
yes.
loves, but he's 92 years old. So I'm close to that. So I want to thank you for letting us older people into it. So the church is, you have worship service every Sunday, and God's bringing people to, to know Him, and that's a powerful thing. Now, across the street, tell us about a little bit about that ministry. That, well, first go next door. I mean, you have a building where you do. Tell us some of the things in there, the computers and the library, different things.
Well, we're in an under-resourced community, and I'm so thankful for the board that we have. Drew and WCLV was one of the first people that walk in to support the work that we are doing there, and Drew got drafted onto the board over ice cream, But we literally, it's in an under-resourced community and don't have any programs. We are only answering needs that are there. So beside the church is what we call the Pathway House. In the Pathway House, we have a computer lab. We have a little Kinko's, a business center where people in the community who may not have access to Wi-Fi or computer can come on and do resume or even use a keyboard training and all those different things. And the caseworker works in that facility, color copies if they need it. We have our lending library. Kids could get books out of that library and get incentivized for reading a book and writing a story about what they've read. So all those things are in that community, because we believe that we're not just trying to feed people, we're trying to teach them how to feed themselves. And that's what the board empowers us to do. That's what the members of the board who serve along beside us cause us to be able to do that in that unresourced community.
And isn't it great to have a board who is encouraging you and supporting you, not trying to say you can't do this, you can't, but you and Drew, I want to thank you for your spirit, and tell us sort of how that began to develop across the street, the meals, and some of the what's happening over there.
Well, so if we kind of trace back kind of our humble beginnings at the Mercy House, which is a very small, what you say, about 2,000 square feet,
2,000, yes.
House in a neighborhood is the best way to kind of describe it. So that was where our beginning was, and in the beginning, we were just cooking, just preparing meals, and then we started giving away clothes. People would give us clothes, and then we would give them to whoever needed them. So there was this very small kind of beginning story, and very humble, and all we tried to do is kind of follow the golden rule, to treat others the way we want to be treated, simply. And if you do that, a lot of things kind of unfold in front of you. So, people in our underserved communities or under-resourced communities needed clothes, they needed food, they may need food after we're done cooking. So they need pantry food. They need food to be able to take home. So we have a food pantry. Their clothes were dirty, so they needed access to a washing machine and dryer. They may need access to a bathroom, shower. So we installed a bathroom and a shower. Everything was just very basic and just very, it's very simple and very easy. And it, frankly, in our neighborhood, didn't cost a lot to install, but it made a tremendous impact, because if I am homeless, or if I don't have a good home and I need to wash my clothes, these are the only clothes I have, where are you going to do that? I don't have money for a coin laundry, and so being able to kind of place that good seed in the community means a lot, and that's what we did. Mm-hmm. And then if you track that across the 6 years that until present, February 2025 as we record this, that small seed just kept getting watered and kept getting multiplied, and our impact kept getting multiplied. I think that's what happened. Is God, I can tell you, you say that, Ken, I don't say no to Ken, or I allow it. Let me tell you, Ken and I regularly kind of scratch our heads and go, man, is this really happening? What is going on? And we are always trying to tune into God. We are always trying to tune into what God's plans are for the people in our community, and how can we serve God's plans, not really ours. I think Ken and I would both tell you, we don't really do anything. God does it all.
Yes.
And that's the way ministers really work. Now let me just, the people watching here and listening, when you say a few meals, people have no concept that you all serve 500 meals a day, cooked on a little 4-eye stove. I don't know. I'm not good at home economics.
No, you're correct.
All of that, and then it's volunteers. Now, one other thing, that when you serve these meals, these people come in. Now, they sit down at a table, and then volunteers serve them. And in Montgomery, Alabama, there are not many folks willing to serve other folks, but you got volunteers. And there are not many, you don't go many places where you get served, but your volunteers are just doing that in a great way. And then you offer them an opportunity in the pantry. Now, when you say pantry, it's a very small area. Y'all make the most use out of
Space.
Every square inch. And let me tell you, just so that people understand, you're on Council Street.
Mm-hmm.
Council Street is not much wider than from where we are. You better not try to meet a car coming up and down Council Street. And if you look at the houses, I'm just going to guess, I would say at least a third and maybe a half of the houses are uninhabited.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not talking about a nice neighborhood where you go in and have all these facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And but you do that. And then out back, what have you done, Ken? I mean, this is great for young people. And well, first about the shed, how important that is, people might not realize.
Well, before we go further with those meals, we have to shout out to Adrian Thomas.
Yes.
Adrian Thomas is a godsend, a person who's retired and just came there to serve with us and able to take nothing. I mean, she takes little or nothing
Incredibly
and prepare those meals every day. And we've never had a person walk away hungry. I mean, somehow, some way, no matter what happens, she's gonna figure out a way to feed every person that comes up and down Council Street every day. And so I'm just grateful, and we are as a team and as a ministry so grateful that God loaned us Adrian Thomas. And I just wanted to shout her name. So in the backyard, we have a pavilion out back. And Drew, we just had the slab poured underneath that pavilion. And I think someday when we're all in heaven and somebody need to move that old pavilion and break it up, they're going to find a book underneath there written by John Ed.
That's the best. That's where most of my books go, in the bottom of a cement. But let me just tell you how God works. I mean, now that's a pavilion, and
Yes.
it's for people to get out of the sun.
Out of the sun, got a cold water fountain, got Wi-Fi outside, got plugs
Power.
outside. They can plug in their phone and ceiling fans out there for the cool evening, for the heat of the day. So it's a really nice little place for a person who's homeless and may not have a place to stop, can stay out there as long as they want to.
And I remember I brought a friend over there one day.
Mr. Pat Matthews.
Yeah, well, brought him over there to do something else, and he wanted to see that, so we show him. He asked you, because it was not, cement hadn't been poured, had no foundation, and you asked him how much. He asked you how much, and you gave him what it was going to cost, and he said, then here's a check for it.
Yeah, that's
the best time I ever brought anybody over there, and they did that, and he wanted it. He just had such an interest, but God opened his heart to the way.
I'll tell you that Drew and I are sitting here. We'll tell you that's the way everything's happened there. We have not been able to do any of this. God has sent people and made ways out of no ways. He's always provided. We're in the WSFA building because somebody say that here's $1 and the building and you can have it. All the things that we are doing, God has miraculously made ways for those things to be done. And that's why Drew and I realized that we're not seeking our own plans. With everything that he put in our hands, we're not trying to build a program. We're just trying to answer whatever it is that he wants done through each one of those entities that he gives us.
And if you tried to do it, you'd make a mess out of it.
I've made lots of
we
mess.
would tear it
But
up.
God's doing it, and it's so we're still at the Mercy House, man. And you got a big area there with a basketball court, and you got a lot
played
of
some
balls.
basketball out there.
We did there. Now I didn't know you could have played with the Lakers. I tell you, I thought I was a
in
pretty
my
good
mind.
basketball player, but that's a great. So that is sort of the Mercy House, and every day Now, you know, people are hungry every day,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no vacation day,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing that. But now let me just, how God opened another door. Now you've got that, you know, 500 meals off that. Drew, what happened? There was a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
that went
Sure.
went out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell us about that.
So, you know, it's nice that we cook 500 meals. If you ask Ken and I, we'd love to cook 50,000 meals. It's, you know, there's usually our 500, we run out every single day. And so we give away 100% of it. And we still have people come up and say, do you have any more? And we have to tell them no. And so there was an old restaurant named Corsino's. It was an Italian restaurant here in Montgomery, Alabama, and that family had closed that restaurant. And because we help prepare so much food, that there is a huge food need in the overall city of Montgomery and not just the Washington Park area, that we started talking with county commissioners and city council people and the kind of leaders of the community. And we said, well, if we can take this old restaurant, if we can convert it to a commercial kitchen, and we can take Miss Adrian and her creative cooking and give her more than a 4-burner stove, if we could give her a commercial kitchen, then what could we do? We could cook 1,000, 2,000 or more meals a day. And there are plenty of federal assistance and programs that would support that, but they need people to cook and they need people to prepare the food. Well, we love doing that. And so we have named that Manna House, of course, manna from God, and we are going to be the conduit which this food is prepared and given to the people all over the city of Montgomery and the surrounding areas.
And you know, it was one time you had to have a lot of volunteers, and then most of it's been done. One of the things, when God opens a door, it's good to walk through it. But sometimes when you get on the other side, God, I didn't know this was here. Mm-hmm. Well, there were some challenges, a lot of challenges with code and things that had to be placed. Just sort of in a general way, what you expected it would cost to do that, then to what it's became, because I mean, so many things, one thing led to another.
Absolutely.
Because it was an old building.
Yeah, I think it would probably be a misconception that a 100-year-old restaurant has things like a grease trap.
Oh, yes.
And certainly Ken and I, who are, you know, not, again, I think we always are laughing at God choosing us to be involved in this in any way because we are so ill-equipped. We said, what's a grease trap?
What's a grease trap?
And but as you know, as we came to find out that a 100-year-old building and a 100-year-old restaurant does have pretty significant needs, and so grease trap meant, you know, running a concrete saw and busting up the foundation from the street all the way to the kitchen about over 100 feet through our building after we had already floored it, thinking this thing's ready to go. And so it's been a very big learning process, and we got to give a lot of credit to Kyle Kaiser.
Kyle Kaiser. Now that's another young man that stepped in, and does he have a regular job? Because he's there all the time.
You wouldn't know it.
No, I better be careful because I know his dad.
Yeah.
No, but Kyle has been just a tremendous.
He has, and I think that's probably...
And so many volunteers.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the story of so many people, is that God has super individuals who he's gifted uniquely, and he has been so gracious to bring those people to this organization and to what we're doing, and they're the ones that carry us when we don't know how to spell grease trap. They're the ones that carry us as we engage in these construction projects. And we are in very good hands. And yes, the cost went up of what we thought.
Yeah. Well, there's a great story about that. I mean, it's unbelievable how God doesn't take you someplace and leave you. He's there, and when you encounter things, and Ken, I mean, you're a man of faith, and you just take it. So, just briefly, then I want us to move in. You got so many more things we need to tell about in terms of these ministries, but tell them about the electrical part of it. And you thought there'd be a little bit of an electrical, and you got a little price on it.
Yeah, we thought we was finished, as Drew said. And then after the inspection, we realized we needed $163,000 more labor done. And then when that 163 came, we braced ourselves and purpose that we're going to crowd and try to get that money raised. One of the line items was $13,000 for the electrical. Well, when the city came in for that $13,000, we found out it was $63,000.
Wow.
The whole building had to be redone. And I just think, I called Drew and I said, okay, I'm going to give my keys to God. What are you going to do with yours? I didn't have a way, couldn't even imagine how that was going to happen. And I was just literally passing by the building one day, and I saw Kyle's truck there and some other cars, and I had an appointment. And I went to that appointment, came back, and they were still there, and just walked in to say hi. Didn't know who Kyle was talking to. And I walked in, and he was talking to All Phase Electrical. And a guy named, man, I just walked in. No one knew me. I mean, I met people inside who didn't even know my face and know anything about me. And I just started telling them a little bit about what we was doing. And the owner of that company said, we want to get involved. And he said, we want to assume the electrical costs.
Wow.
And so
$63,000 extra dollars.
$63,000. He said he wanted to assume that cost. And so it had nothing to do with my faith, because I was shattered. And I'm just telling you, I was broken. I was just trying to give the keys to God. And I just walked in on a Monday, and somebody in the room who didn't know my name, who God had anointed for that purpose. And it had nothing at all to do with Ken Austin. It was a God thing.
Isn't it fun just to watch God work?
Yeah.
And Mr. Shores, he offered to do that.
Shores.
And then here's Pat Matthews that just walked in, and people walk in, and here's Kyle Kaiser.
Kyle Kaiser would be $1 million cost if we was paying Kyle. It would cost us $1 million.
And here's Drew. And here's you. It's just fun to watch God work, and it just keeps going. So now we've talked about the church. We talked about the house next to it. We've talked about the Mercy House, and now the Manor House, which is it sort of a date as to when that'll be operational?
We're hoping this summer, by spring, summer we should.
And that's something we can all be praying about.
Amen.
Yes.
And in the course of all of this, I'd like for people to know that I know you're probably asking, well, what could I do financially? And it's a 501c3, so it's a charitable contribution. And you're feeding and children. Now, what I want to move to now is specifically what you're doing in the area of children and those kinds of people. And you've got a heart for people. There's just so many young kids that grow up and they don't have any support at home. And I know you've had to help raise the money to bury several of these kids in the last year, because for some reason or another they were killed through different situations. I mean, little bitty kids, and you've helped raise the money. But let's move over to the map for a minute. WSFA has this big, huge building, and then they moved downtown. And so they had this, how many square feet were there in that?
40,000.
40,000 square feet, and they tried to sell it, but then a lot of people talked with them, and WSFA gave for, I think I paid for it. It was $1.
You did. Thank you, China, by the way.
But it was for $1, gave it to. But now here you have just a multiplicity of different ministries. Tell us about a few of those that are involving particularly children and young people.
I'll say this about the MAP Center.
Well, tell them what MAP stands for.
MAP stands for Ministry About People.
Ministry About People.
And
MAP.
that's what we do. We redirect people. That's what we put people on the map. We feel that every person has a place, and if they get on the map, they can get there. And we're just old school with the map and a flashlight. We believe that. But the story with the map is Mark Bunting, which is the general manager there. Todd Strange was still in office as mayor at the time, and for his birthday, Todd said, I'm going to take you with me. And he brought him over to the Mercy House and had him to serve on his birthday.
Whoa.
And that was the connection with the WSFA. So Mark Bunting came over on his birthday and served on his birthday. And when they was ready to move, he was familiar with the place that we had and the lack of space that we had. And that was one of the reasons why the WSFA facility came into play. So it was an experience that Mark had inside of the Mercy House that caused him to think about us when he was going to liquidate that facility.
Hey, I got a couple of friends have birthdays coming up. Can I bring them over to to Corsino's and
watch out
because that'd be a great present for them to get involved in.
You never know what will happen.
But go ahead now with the Map Center.
So the Map Center, what we purposed to do inside that facility, it was Mark Bunting and WSFA wanted that facility to be a community center. And so what we have done, Drew and I have done since then, we are partnering with the city and the county. We have 16 different agencies working inside of that facility.
Now stop a minute, I want to get people here. 16 different agencies where you're doing
working
ministry
under one roof.
Under one roof. Which
one
is
Trenum College, who's in there doing adult education, GEDs, and high school diplomas, workforce development. They're in there doing that work, and it costs no person who walk into the building anything.
Now say that again. Now you can go in and get a GED, and that's important. And they can train people in different areas of how you can then get a job. But that's just one.
Yeah, so what we did, what we purposed to do, since the facility was given to us, we said that we'll give you space for free if you don't charge the people who come in anything. So they don't charge the people who come in for GED and high school diplomas, and we don't charge them rent. So each person come in there can serve inside that facility and give away service in a community that needs it. And a person, the excuses, all those things that a person might have, those things are eliminated. Care starts inside that building. You could come over there and see mental health, and we don't charge mental health for being there. And so guess what? If you walk in and see mental health, you don't pay. And so family guidance is there. All the other agencies are there, and we don't charge them any rent for being inside that facility, because a person who's in need can walk in the one place and get all the help they need inside that facility.
Wow. And then too, you do a lot of other things, tutoring and.
We literally, so inside of that facility is the adult facility. We started there with the children, but since we brought in the adults there, we moved the children to what we call now the Matthews Navigation Center. That's the old common ground. Last year, Drew, the board came up with a plan that we was able to purchase that facility. So we purchased the old common ground facility last year.
And just a minute, Common Ground has been a great ministry. It's just a couple of blocks from New Life Church and Mercy House, and it was a marvelous ministry to people that nobody really cared about.
And I'll let Drew tell you about that because the board led us through the opportunity to purchase that facility, and now that we have purchased that facility and have about 200 children there every day throughout the summer and all those things we get a chance to do.
And that simply was, again, it's just addressing another need in the community. And so when kids come home from school, they need extra help, right? I did when I was a kid and needed help after school to make sure I did my homework and studied for tests and didn't get into trouble. And so that is what's going on at the Youth Navigation Center. And so that facility, yes, was with Common Ground, but about a year ago, we had been leasing it for a couple years, and so we went ahead and purchased that property. And on day one of owning it, we just felt great because those were our kids and these were our teachers, and this was our this means quite a lot to us, because it's one thing that we take care of homelessness and we try and service that, but these problems of an under-resourced community are so great. The needs are so great, and there's plenty of young people in our neighborhood, and they go to school, and when they come home, if they don't have those resources at home, they can come to us. It's a safe place. There are loving, caring mentors and teachers that help them out, and that means the world to us, and we know that is an investment in the city. That is an investment in lives that we enjoy.
Wow, I'm just sitting here overwhelmed a little bit. I mean, here's one guy that started it out, and then you, and then all the other folks, and then all of the volunteers. Now hundreds of volunteers, but I mean, I'm just sitting here feeding 500 people a day over here in this part of town, having church, and having folks saved, having people come to know Christ, having marriages. I remember the Sunday I was there. A couple of things where folks were reunited and marriages were healed. Now that's a great ministry. And then you go over to Corsino's and you're fixing to prepare a place that feeds so many more. And then you got the MAP Center that's helping people, hundreds and hundreds of people in probably, is it 12? How many different?
16.
Well, see, I always underestimate, okay?
You got to be church math.
That's right. 16 different ministries right there. And then, look at these children. How many children would you guess you have there?
So we have the capacity for 200 children in our program. We have preschool, so we have from kindergarten all the way through high school. And that's, 5 days a week. And in the summer, we have them from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and then we have an evening program from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So all summer long, for 9 weeks of summer, we have children off the street in a safe place all day long.
All right, I want to come back to that in just a minute because that's a marvelous, another way God just opened doors. And I know you're probably sitting there and you're thinking, wow, is my church doing anything like that? Here's a great way that your church or my civic club or my community or my small group or my Bible study is great, prayer groups are great, but you got to put that into action. And here's just a smorgasbord of what's happening. And, if you took many churches and put them together, they wouldn't be doing what you're doing as a ad hoc ministry. By that I mean God's just telling you what to do and you do it. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people. Now I want to come to, and we've got just a few minutes here. I want to come back to another way God opened the door with this ministry, and tell them how you do that with college students and for the summer.
Well, we engage college students, and for the last 3 years, college students been staying in Montgomery for the summer and serving with us. We've had the best. College students have been with us some for 3 years. Each summer will stay here and work in our after-school program throughout the summer. And throughout that summer, we have professional development for them. We have spiritual development. But those young people give back. They mentor. They love on those children. They encourage them. They motivate them. Some of those children have never seen anyone from their family in college. And these are college students who are working, paying their own way sometime through college, and everything that a person in that community need to see, rubbing shoulders with them all summer long and throughout the year. And so we're really, really excited. We get ready to start again. We're raising funds now for our...
And what does it cost for one of these college kids? And they would have several, 10 kids, and they'll look after these. It's a safe place for them to come every day.
It's almost like a camp.
Yeah,
it's almost like summer camp.
It's just all day.
All day in their home, because one challenge is summers weren't designed for parents, and so when your kids come home and they're just at home when there is no school, a lot of times, and in a lot of communities across America, they're just aimless, and they can find it hard to find good things to do in the day. And so you've got these interns, these college kids who are already just incredibly godly men, women, who...
The college kids.
Yeah, right, the college kids. Yeah. And they pour into these 8, 9, and 10-year-olds and all these youth, and they engage them, they talk to them with respect, they show them the love of God, and we have some fun while we do it. And they do this every single day while parents are away, working jobs and doing things like that in our community. And that creates a safe space.
Yes.
It creates a lot of development for them spiritually, for mentally. They're still engaged. It's just a wonderful, wonderful part of what we do.
And here's a remarkable thing to me. You did it to do something for these kids, But the people that get the most out of it are probably the college interns who all of a sudden are seeing God utilize their gifts, and they're making a difference. And if you can make a difference in 10 kids' lives, and then you've got all these groups, I mean, look, but the kids are blessed, but the college kids are blessed. In fact, one of the podcasts that I had, we had two of the people,
To the interns that had
right,
served.
who personally gave it. And here's what was interesting. Let me see how to say this. Both of them were from privileged families.
Yes.
Is that a good word?
Yeah.
And they came to serve underprivileged people, and they discovered something about themselves that they didn't know. How much difference they could make in a life. And tell me, how, if somebody wanted just to sponsor one of these college kids, it's 5. What do you tell them?
It may not be legal for us to say, but we only pay them $5,000 for 9 weeks of
Well,
work.
let's just say, yeah.
The hours and everything.
They're mostly volunteers.
The other volunteers.
Yeah.
But that goes for expenses, because
It
most of
does.
these kids, I mean, I know.
But this is a big time commitment. It is a huge time
Yes.
commitment, and so we do pay them $5,000.
We give them
on
a
assignment.
stipend. We give
a stipend, and some of them. Now, heretofore they had to, if they were from, like one of the people we interviewed was from Atlanta, well,
Yeah.
they've got to spend that. But tell how God answered this question. Who I don't know how all that came about. All right.
So
Tell
yeah,
us.
so we will this year. We'll have what we call the Servant Maker House, and that's a place down where the interns can live in.
All right, now say that again. The servant.
The Servant Maker. So we
Servant maker. It's
Yes.
a place where you're making.
making servant.
And
We-
it's a house.
It's a house, yes, sir. It's a place where we can have now that the interns, last year, before they had to pay to live in apartments, they had to pay to stay on campus, and most of the stipend that we was giving them was paying for them to stay here. So
Right.
they was getting nothing to do this. So this year, now that we'll have a place that they could stay in, they could stay in that house and now be able to serve back in the community.
Right, and it's a nice.
It's
It's
a-
one of the few things you've ever gotten. It's almost
Almost
ready
complete.
to go.
Yeah, it's. I'm just telling you, I would live there if I needed to. It's a really nice place, but it just really, again, as Drew said earlier, is not what we are doing. It's always God. God just opened doors, and we've never had a program. We always meeting needs, and God just provide for the needs that are there, and He opened doors that those needs are met. And that's what we're not afraid to continue to walk in, because as we get out of the boat and to walk, God provides each time, and He's done it ever since we've been there.
Well, you two are walking on water. I tell you. I mean, I don't know how to communicate. I apologize. What way God's taken what you've got, He takes a little and makes a lot out of it,
He
and
does.
it's hard for me to wrap my mind around just being around you all a lot and seeing and going to each. I've been to each of these places, but then to see, because God keeps opening more doors. I mean, at the Map Center, all age groups. It's not just children. It's not just youth. It's adults, and it's helping people become equipped. Now, everything you do is centered on the love of God and His desire for purpose. Has a purpose for every person. And so it is thoroughly Christian based. Would you speak to that?
Oh,
Anyway.
well,
I want folks to see this is not just
Yeah,
a
let's-
social program.
it is not just a social program. And you said everything we do is God. Everything that happens in this world is God based.
Amen.
All right, let's just set the tone that the Creator of the universe cares deeply about His children, and He cares deeply about everything, and nothing happens without His doing it. That's absolutely true. And so, sure, how we can speak to it because we have proximity to it, but what really happens on a daily basis is God happens. God looks at His children on a daily basis, says, I care about you, I love you, I want to reach out to you, and He wants to feed you, He wants to clothe you, He wants to make sure you're happy. He has such good plans for you. And if you believe that, I tell my family all the time, getting to hang out with Ken, I learned how to see people. And once you see people the way God does, and Ken taught me this valuable lesson, you treat them very differently. And the reality is every single person you see, every single soul on this planet is God's child. And God cares very deeply for them. And if you serve God, and if you are, call yourself a Christian, and if you are, following God's kind of role in your life, then you want to serve his kids too.
That's right.
Because you say, you know what, this, we're basically brothers, and so we gotta take care of each other. We gotta help feed each other. We gotta help do these things. And so, as it relates to Mercy House and kind of what we do, sure, we have this operation, but Ken and I all the time, we kind of laugh that we're really not, doesn't feel like we're doing much.
Well, we are the hostess. I think
that's right. That's
we
like
really do. So many people provide and give the finances to help and all those things, and we really just sit there and smile and greet them, And I think that's what we try to do well, to make them know that God appreciate, how they support this work.
Right.
And
I want to take just a minute and tell us how anybody watching, listening, could give financial support, and then also after that volunteer support, but financial. How could people
please
help?
Go to the website right now.
Give us the website.
The website is mercyhousemgm.org.
MGM is Montgomery.
That's right.
Yes, mercyhousemgm, one word, .org, and donate. And you could donate now. You could donate to sponsor an intern. You could donate to sponsor a child for the 9 weeks of the summer, which is only $500 per child. You can donate to continue with the food that we're serving. You could donate generally just to help the ministry continue to be in that community, serving every day. So you could donate to the Manor House. You could donate to whatever your heart desire would be. But you can donate on the website easily. You could mail the check in to the Mercy House. The P.O. Box is 10036. Montgomery, Alabama, 36108.
You're running too many numbers for an older man. But all of that's on the website.
All of it's on the website. Right. Yeah, you can go to the website real easy, and all that information is right there. And you could donate. You could write a check if you need to, or you could donate electronically if you desire. But we're having a big event on March the 14th that we would love Danny Warford is coming to Montgomery for free. Can you imagine that? He's donated himself to come and to provide a lunching for us, and it's going to be at the Renaissance. Actually donated the space for us to have a place there, so we can have a luncheon there March the 14th, and we love for the community to come out and be a part of that.
And they'll get to meet a lot of the people.
You'll get a chance to meet a lot of the interns will be there, a lot of our board, and just people who support us. You'll get a chance to be in a good crowd.
So you already have your interns for this summer?
We're engaging them as we speak. It take a little money.
If somebody would like to, and I know what I know your answer is going to be. We're going to hire them, and God will provide. You ain't got to wait for the money to do that, but God.
That's exactly right.
I can't say that because my boss is here, but that's exactly.
But it's in faith that you do that. And can I just make a bold statement here? If Elon Musk comes and examines it, he won't find any
we are lean and
waste in any way. And I would just predict that if he did, he would channel some money into it because you're doing what the government's tried to do and failed, and churches just haven't done. But you are, when I say you, I'm talking about the whole ministry. It's everybody involved. It's just amazing. And churches, it's easy to be comfortable.
Well, it's amazing that, we are an example of working together. That's if the board, if the staff, if the executive team was not on the same page, nothing could get done. But because we all come together and purpose, as Drew said, that we're trying to do what God wants done, and we're trying to figure out the best way to get it done. So that's what we're all trying to do, just trying to figure out how to get it done. We're not trying to tell God what to do or how to do it. We're trying to figure out and then lend ourselves to be part of whatever he wants done.
And Ken's not just doing that, just what he's talked about here. He's in the community, and he is omnipresent.
It's true.
And he's making a difference. I've had the privilege 5 of us who meet together and have done things, particularly in race relations. And there's no better partner than having Ken and Kyle Searcy and Jay Wolf and myself. In fact, by the way, too, remember that billboard they put up? Somebody
They still got the billboard.
Okay,
yes.
well, I think we carried it
At the
after,
map
after
center.
it came off. It's out at the map center there. Now, would you use that for security? You don't have to have an
Yeah,
alarm
we
system.
might need it.
That would scare people because your pictures, our pictures up there, in that.
Oh, we're
Well,
nice
okay.
guys. That may not be good too.
Well, hey, I just want to thank you all, and if go back, give me the website again. I want everybody to know that because we've got people here that are going to help support.
Yeah.
Everybody can pray,
Yeah.
and we want to please ask people because nothing happens without prayer.
Yeah, I can't underscore enough, and I mentioned this at one of our last board meetings, that as it relates to, and you'd alluded to this earlier, but when you sign up, when you truly give your life to Christ, when you truly sign up for what God wants you to do, it's not roses and sugar plums and nice things. When you get close, I was telling this to some board members, said when you are on the front lines, that's an allusion to a war zone, right? And what happens to the people on the front lines? Well, they catch a lot of flack, right? They catch a lot of the bullets. And make no mistake, what happens in these communities is spiritual warfare. And so as you step boldly out on those front lines, you catch some flack. And would that be safe to say, Ken? And so
just a little bit.
and so as we are battling this spiritual warfare and you're wondering what you can do, get on your hands and knees and pray. Get on your hands and knees and call on the creator of the universe to intercede and to be with his people. Not us, we'll be just fine, but be with the people who we try and serve. Be with the people who are homeless. Be with the people who are in need. Be with people who are in under-resourced communities. They need prayer. They need prayer. They need God to touch them, and they need to know that people care about them the way God cares about them.
We're in a spiritual warfare.
Amen.
And you guys, I'm just glad that I'm on y'all's team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because we're going to win?
Jesus is going to win. I'm saying.
I'm
He will.
convinced. I'm convinced the trouble that we have, the things that we go through, is that the enemy wants us to leave. Not as Drew said earlier, we're gonna go home and we're okay. We'll be fine. We have a relationship with Jesus Christ. We're gonna die and end up in heaven. But there's so many people who he needs us to reach that the enemy wants. And if we leave, we open the gates to him. And I think that's the reason why we're challenged so much to leave that community. That's why we're challenged so much for being there, because the enemy wants those children, want those families, want those young people, and we just refuse. We continue day in and day out battling for those children's souls and offering them a map, a direction out, a way back to God. And that's what we do day in and day out. And so I appreciate God just giving us the privilege to be part of that.
Isn't that great? And I know you've probably been in a discussion sometime at some point how bad the world is, how nobody can do anything. Listen, here is a ministry. It's now a multifaceted ministry. And Ken is smart, but he's not brilliant. He just is dedicated to God. And then people like Drew have come along, and people have come along, and you can be a difference maker. You can help change the population of heaven. And that's what God's called us all to do, and that's our mission. But also we need to feed, clothe, educate, train, look after those who are widows, those who are children. There's so many children. I hope you catch the spirit. And a good place to plug into is through one of these ministries, through your local church, or wherever you are in the world, wherever you might be watching it. God has a place for you to serve. And I want to thank y'all so much. It's I'm inspired. I tell you, I thought I knew a lot about it, but I've learned today. But most of all, the spirit of what Christ is doing. And we almost always remember, Jesus said, if I am lifted up,
Yes.
I will draw all people unto myself. And that's what y'all are doing, and that's what we're all called to do. And so thank you. This is called Go-Getters. And let me tell you, you're not going to find any two better go-getters than these guys. I mean, you're a go-getter. But you're not going and getting for yourself. You're also a go-giver.
Yes.
And that's what God's calling us to do and calling you to be. Now, we do this podcast once a month. It's always on the first Friday of the month that it comes out. And then they're stored on YouTube. Now, I don't know all that terminology. Y'all are smarter than I am at that. But you can see some of the back issues of this. Other folks, and there's just some great ministers. But I hope for a long time folks will watch and rewatch this podcast and put into action and to be a good follower. Thank y'all so much, guys. Thank y'all. And I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord for putting together a team and for doing the ministry that you all are giving leadership, and many people are following, and what God's going to do through that. And there's a place for you that God wants you to serve. Be sure you do that. God bless you.